I think the hardest part about this for me was the knowing that I was meant to create certain things and take certain action in my life. But when I would go to take that action, something about it didn't feel right. I didn't feel like it was flowing. I didn't feel easy for me. It didn't feel freeing. It felt like I was dragging myself through. I had a hard time trusting myself. And even when I would take the action, I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. And this is where we can start to get really frustrated, because on some level, we are listening to our inner guidance. We're listening to the part of us that knows who we're meant to be when we're living up to our fullest potential, when we feel fully safe in the world to go after what we want. But as long as there's that attachment, again, to achieving that thing being the reason that we deserve love and safety, it's never going to feel like it's in alignment, and it's never going to feel freeing. And if you haven't been giving yourself permission to rest, I want you to know that there's so much unseen work that you're doing, especially if you're called to this video and you identify as a light worker or someone who's meant to heal yourself and uplift humanity. That work is legit. It is serious. And there's so much more that goes on unseen to the human eye. So I just want to share that, because I hope that it gives you permission to recognize you've been doing a lot more than you think you have. Welcome to the Rituals with Michaela podcast, a space for you to come as you are and tune into conversations that will support you on your path to becoming all that you're meant to be in this lifetime. I'm Michaela, a hypnotherapist and spiritual mentor. Daily rituals have been the most transformative tool in my healing and manifestation journey, and I want to share every piece of that wisdom with you. Think of this podcast as a weekly ritual for you to cultivate deeper awareness, inspiration, and connection to yourself. And most importantly, every episode will leave you with a simple ritual to integrate and embody everything you've learned. Whether you listen with your morning coffee, on your drive to work, or while you move your body, wherever you are, just take a deep breath, tune in, and turn this into your own special time just for you. Hi, my loves. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and welcome back to my podcast if you're listening on there. For those of you who are new here, my name is Michaela. I'm a hypnotherapist and spiritual mentor. And most importantly, right now, I am in the midst of a really deep healing journey where I am learning how to trust myself again. I'm learning how to create wholeness within myself again. And that healing journey started off as a manifestation journey, wanting to know everything there is about my ability to create my own reality. And after years of kind of diving into the more surface level work, which sometimes can work for certain people, after years of doing that myself, I found that it didn't work for me, and that my soul was here on a different mission to really come into wholeness within myself and create this stable foundation to manifest from this place of wholeness within me. Instead of manifesting to overcome certain insecurities, to prove myself to the world from that really ego-based place, I went on this journey into discovering how to manifest from my soul's deepest desires. And when we manifest from this place, it is so incredibly powerful what we are able to attract into our life. We end up attracting not just what we think we want, but what our soul truly wants. And this journey has surprised me in so many ways, because it's not that the more surface level manifestation techniques like visualizing, scripting, all the stuff that we learn from like Abraham Hicks or other manifestation teachers out there, it's not that that stuff isn't effective, but when you are struggling to feel safe within yourself, and when you are struggling to love yourself and accept yourself as you are, it's like you're manifesting from this really shaky foundation where maybe you do get those things, but when they come in, they end up being a lesson to teach you, to bring you back to self-love and to wholeness within. So this video is for those of you who have tried manifestation techniques before and just have not been able to find a stable way to attract and keep and enjoy what it is that you're calling into your life. So I'm going to bring you through a few different steps and phases of what I personally believe it takes to create that stable foundation, to manifest from that place of wholeness, to manifest from that soul level desire, so that you can enter your highest possible timeline where you're no longer trying to force or fix anything into place. You can receive and let your life evolve in the way that it's meant to. As we dive into this, I just want to mention that one of the core truths that I stand by is that there are multiple truths that can exist at the same time. What works for me might not necessarily be the exact path that works for you. This process is really about learning how to trust yourself. But I can say that I did set the intention that those who are drawn to this video are those who are on a similar soul path to mine. Always check in with yourself and know that sometimes this process involves trial and error. Maybe you'll try the exact way that I've moved through this process and find that you hit a roadblock somewhere. And that's a moment for you to check in with yourself and ask yourself, am I just doing this because I learned it in a video, or am I doing this because I feel called here? And before I get ahead of myself on that, don't worry if you struggle to trust yourself and check in with yourself. That's what I'm going to share with you today on how I learned how to do that. So the first step in this whole process is simply identifying that you are meant to start out by building this foundation. That what you've been currently trying around your manifestation techniques or the action that you've been taking, if it hasn't been working, then it's time to try something different. It's time to identify that maybe there is a feeling of emptiness within you, a feeling of insecurity within you, and you're trying to avoid feeling that feeling by achieving all of these outer things. Maybe you're convinced that if you just get that job, or if you can start that successful business and make that money or get that relationship, that you'll finally feel whole. And I think the first step to this process is really addressing that although there is a part of you that firmly believes that that is true, that if you truly want to live a life where you feel stable and secure and safe within yourself to manifest and to create such huge monumental things in your life, you have to start with your relationship with yourself. You have to start with the way that you speak to yourself, the way that you feel about yourself. And self-love doesn't happen when we automatically just have everything that we want and everything comes easy to us. Like, it's easy to feel good about ourselves when we're constantly taking action and constantly achieving and getting everything that we want. The real work lies in the moment that things are not working out for you, that if you feel exhausted and you feel like you can't take action towards your goals, and you feel like you're not doing anything that you're supposed to be doing, that you're not meeting the expectations of society. That's where true self-love can happen, because you no longer have anything on the physical, anything on the exterior to feel proud about yourself for, to identify with. You have to learn to love and accept yourself when you don't have any of the things that you think you need to be deserving of that love and that abundance that you're wanting to attract. And if you're wondering how, I'm going to be diving in exactly how to do this, but I just want to share that that first step is becoming aware that this is actually the most important thing for you to focus on. And when your mind tries to chime in and tell you, no, the most important thing for us to focus on is work, 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 we have to make this happen. The most important thing for us to focus on is getting that relationship and changing whatever we need to change about ourselves in order to get there. That is coming from your wounded inner child. That is coming from your ego. And it's not that that voice is bad. It's just that that voice is not leading you to a space where you can feel truly stable within yourself and become that attractor instead of someone who chases those things. So step one, to sum it all up, is really identifying that in order to become a master manifestor, master creator of your life, you need to become your own safe space. The reason why identifying this is so important is because when you are clear that that voice within you trying to get you to take all of that action out of fear is not the voice to listen to, and you can continuously practice every day when you catch yourself listening to that voice again to bring yourself back to, what is it that I'm really needing right now? What is it that I need to feel safe in this moment? And we'll talk about like the different tools that you can use in moments like that, because Trust me when I say it has not been easy. In my personal experience, that voice that wants me to change everything about my life and everything about myself and be as productive as possible, that voice was so overpowering for a while. And so that's why I say the first step is to simply recognize that that is not the voice that you want to listen to, and to know at the depth of your being that this work of becoming your own safe space and learning to love yourself without anything on the physical, anything on the exterior, that is the most important work that you can focus on. I want you to really understand that what happens when you are your own safe space is you let yourself fail. You let yourself try new things and take action without needing that action step to be the right one. You will start to listen to yourself more deeply, listen to your inner guidance again. And often your inner guidance is going to tell you to do things that your mind, your ego would have never told you to do. Your inner guidance will maybe tell you to stop working one day and go out on a walk, and then on that walk you meet somebody that can help you with the exact thing that you were wanting to manifest. Your inner guidance is not based in logic. It's based in this deep connection to the part of you, your higher self, who knows exactly what you're doing. So it's like when we do this work of learning how to love ourselves and accept ourselves where we are in our life, we stop telling ourselves that we need to achieve anything else, and we start to slow down and listen, and we feel safe to take action that doesn't necessarily make sense. That's when magic can really happen in our lives. And often we don't feel safe enough to take those aligned action steps because we've been taught that we have to focus on exactly what we should be doing in order to do it the way that everyone else is doing it. So, first step, to sum it all up, is understanding that healing your relationship with yourself is the most important thing that you can focus on. And everything else that you're being guided to do, it's like checking in, is this coming from fear? Is this coming from my mind thinking I need to be moving along faster? Or is this coming from that deeper knowing within me? And if you can't hear that deeper knowing within you, it's likely that what you need to do is pull back and rest and be with yourself, which I hate that I'm even saying that to you, because that's the part that I rejected the most and that I've had the hardest time doing. I mean, even just before making this video, I felt called to make this video, but I also was so tired. So I just laid in bed and my mind honestly was just going crazy, and I just let it. I'm letting go of control right now and learning how to rest and surrender. And when I don't know what to do, let myself be in that place of not knowing what to do without needing my mind to always figure it out. So I'm right there with you if that part is really hard for you. We're in this together and we're learning how to soften and surrender. So once you start to really understand that the most important thing you can do is work on your relationship with yourself, you have to start to figure out, well, what is my current relationship with myself? So often we've been in the same relationship with ourselves our entire life, and it's all subconscious. Like sometimes we might feel, oh, I do have a negative voice in my head. Oh, I am a little bit critical of myself. But we might not know the full extent to which there is this negative dialogue playing out inside of us, because what happens is when we are born into this world, our mind is truly a sponge for everything in our environment. This is something that I teach about in my hypnotherapy sessions, because often we have beliefs within us that we don't even know we have. Often we have programming within us that we don't even know that we have. Our subconscious mind takes in everything in our environment from ages 0 to 7. And so if we have parents that are critical of themselves, if we have parents that believe that they need to meet certain societal expectations in order to receive love, we see, feel, hear, and know all of that to be true within us too. And then not to mention, often our parents or caretakers put that pressure on us too, of us needing to get those certain grades or perform a certain way. And when we do, we receive love. And when we don't, maybe we are punished, or we get that love taken away from us, or we're simply just treated differently. Even very subtle things can shift the way that we learn how to receive love and the way that we feel worthy and valuable in this world. And this doesn't just happen from our parents. It happens when we're with peers at school, what we read, what we see on the media. There's so much conditioning that we absorb. So we take on those beliefs about who we need to be and what we need to do and achieve in order to receive love and in order to receive wealth, abundance, to be safe in our lives. So much of that programming that we have doesn't belong to us, but we think it does because it's programmed within us so early on. This programming will be slightly different for everyone based off of what your caretakers shared with you and what you started to believe you needed to do and who you needed to be in order to be the most successful, ideal version of you in this world. And often this vision isn't always wrong. Like for me, for example, I grew up being natural at helping people, at talking things through with people, at making people feel heard and making people feel loved. And so I believed that that's what I needed to not only do in order to help my family and help those around me, but that's what I needed to do for work. And when I started my business coming from this place of feeling like I have to do this in order to make money, this is the only way for me to receive love, to receive validation, to get paid, it was just not flowing. It didn't feel natural. My energy was drained. There was truth in what I was pursuing, that I was meant to help people, but as long as it was coming from this place within me that felt like I wouldn't be deserving or safe or loved if I didn't pursue it, there was this heaviness to it. So the important thing to ask yourself as you observe is, what do I think I need to achieve? And who do I think I need to be? What do I need to change about myself in order to feel happy and in order to be loved? And as you observe, just notice with compassion. Know that you were programmed to believe that you needed these things, and it's not your fault. It's not your fault that you've been chasing these things, and it's not your fault that there's a part of you that probably still feels really attached to them, even with this knowledge that you have that you need to focus on loving yourself without these things. Part of this work is being able to hold space for all different perspectives and all different parts of yourself, and then choosing which truth you want to listen to and let lead you. I think the hardest part about this for me was the knowing that I was meant to create certain things and take certain action in my life, but when I would go to take that action, something about it didn't feel right. I didn't feel like it was flowing. I didn't feel easy for me. It didn't feel freeing. It felt like I was dragging myself through. I had a hard time trusting myself. And even when I would take the action, I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. And this is where we can start to get really frustrated, because on some level, we are listening to our inner guidance. We're listening to the part of us that knows who we're meant to be when we're living up to our fullest potential, when we feel fully safe in the world to go after what we want. But as long as there's that attachment, again, to achieving that thing being the reason that we deserve love and safety, it's never going to feel like it's in alignment, and it's never going to feel freeing. So that's why this step is so essential, because yes, that dream that you have that you know on a soul level feels so right for you and that you're meant to go after it, that dream is there because you are meant to achieve it and you are meant to live that life. But we have to address first this part of you that is so attached to making that happen, because you tie it to your ability to receive love and to feel safe and to feel accepting of yourself. So what I've been telling myself to help myself through this is that there are things that I have been trying to work on relentlessly for years, and nothing has ever felt quite right. And it feels like no matter what, I just have so much brain fog and resistance, and there's just something that's not clicking. And what I continue to tell myself is that right now I am doing so much unseen work on the inside to make it so that when I do take that action, that it is coming from the purest place within me, that it is fully in alignment. And that's what allows our creations and the action that we take to bring us magical, miraculous results. And so I just continue to remind myself that what I'm doing right now is working smarter and not harder. And although this energy and healing work is hard work, it's work that feels right to me right now, to be resting and to be turning inward. And so I just want to be so clear to you that you don't have to give up on anything that you are wanting to pursue, but don't keep forcing it if there's inner work that needs to be done first, because when you take the time to address this, all of that will feel so much easier and you will actually be able to enjoy the process of creating it. What happens when we don't take the step of observing and slowing down is that we are working under pressure. We have internal dialogues that tell us that we're running out of time, that we've wasted time, that we just have to like really go full steam ahead. And when we take action with that dialogue playing, it blocks us from accessing our true gifts and speaking with authenticity, leading with authenticity, creating with authenticity. It blocks us from our own magic. And so what this work does is it helps us to take that pressure off, because pressure comes from believing that you have to do it perfectly the first time. Maybe having caretakers who enforced that and punished you, like I said, when you didn't do things right, or maybe just being embarrassed in front of your peers and learning, I need to do everything perfectly the first time in order to feel safe. Having this pressure on you keeps you in this space of being in survival mode where you're constantly looking to all the ways that you could fail and trying to, again, discern the action that you're meant to take using your mind, using your ego, discern all the things that are wrong with you that you have to fix in order to get that love and success that you want. And so when you're fixated on letting your mind guide your action steps, again, you're not able to tune into that space within you of your higher self, that part of you who truly does know exactly where to guide you to get what it is that you want, and likely so much more beyond that. The reason why this self-love, self-trust work is so necessary is because there is no certain path that somebody else has done before that is going to lead you to where you want to be, because your path is not going to look like the person next to you. That's why there are so many people in this world who are so unhappy, and because we look to the people who have been successful, maybe by going to college or pursuing certain types of degrees that guarantee success. Maybe there's a path that your parent took that you feel like, oh, I have to take this path because this is how my parents built their success. And I understand that. Truly, I do, because I've been there as well. And that's part of the problem, is that we think that we have to look outward to guide us and to show us what our next steps are. And of course, we can take inspiration from people who inspire us and who are living lives that we want to live. But ultimately, your path will never be exactly the same as that other person's, because that's not what your soul wants to experience. Your soul is here to have your own very unique experience that's based off of your unique passions and gifts and likes and dislikes and lessons that you came here to learn and experiences that you came here to have. And so that's why slowing down and observing that whole dialogue on who you think you need to be and what you think you need to achieve is so essential, because it's going to help you to pull back from doing it the way that everybody else is doing it and slow down to be able to listen to your own inner voice again. And as someone who's currently in the process of listening to my own inner voice, it's crazy to me how loud and how clear it's been this whole time, and how much I just couldn't listen to it because exactly what it was telling me to do was the opposite of what my ego thought I should be doing. My ego thought that I was super far behind, that I wasn't making progress, that none of this energetic healing work, this rest that I had been taking was doing anything, and that I needed to be taking action. But the action wasn't working for me. And my body and the deepest part of me was calling me to rest and to simply just pull back as much as I could in my life. And as soon as I started listening to that, things started to shift for me. As soon as I started listening to that, I slowly started to feel what it felt like to hear my inner voice a little bit louder, and to start to examine where in me I didn't feel lovable or valuable or worthy or deserving when I wasn't taking action, when I wasn't doing those things. And that is where you get to face those parts of you and access that strength within you to look at yourself and say, I love you. and I accept you. And I know that we're struggling right now with this. I know that you believe that you have to do more and be more, but in this moment, I accept you as you are, and I see you. And I see all of the work that you've been doing, and I know you're telling yourself you haven't been doing enough and you need to do more, but you have been doing enough. And this work that we're doing right now of pulling back and resting, this is the work. And you know it because it feels good in your body. Even if your mind is panicking, there's a sense of, oh yeah, I really needed this, and I really am tired. And I wasn't giving myself permission to be tired because I didn't think I was doing enough to be tired. And that, again, is really my own personal story, but I just felt really called to share that because I feel like some of you are going to be able to relate to that. And if you haven't been giving yourself permission to rest, I want you to know that there's so much unseen work that you're doing, especially if you're called to this video and you identify as a light worker or someone who's meant to heal yourself and uplift humanity. That work is legit. It is serious. And there's so much more that goes on unseen to the human eye. So I just want to share that because I hope that it gives you permission to recognize you've been doing a lot more than you think you have. What happens if we don't slow down and observe is we live life in one of two paths, maybe interchangeably on both paths. I know for me it was interchangeable, but the first path is this perfectionistic path, being in fight or flight, constantly taking action, doing more and more and more to try to achieve and try to make your dreams happen. Inevitably, because that is like so far on one end of a pendulum of like overworking yourself and using all of your willpower, inevitably there will be a time when you cannot handle that and you go all the way to the other end where you feel frozen and immobile and you numb out, and maybe you need substances to help you to cope with how overwhelmed you are, and rightfully so, because you've been trying to do so much and you believe that your mind needs to figure it all out. And there's so much pressure to be perfect because you believe that you need to be perfect to receive the love and safety and validation that you need. And it is an incredibly overwhelming and tiring place to be, where you wake up every day with this subtle feeling of, when is this going to be over? You know, when am I going to be able to feel peace and joy and be in the present moment? And I know for me, that's what I was waking up every day feeling like. And still sometimes I have that feeling within me because I'm in the midst of this journey. But I can tell you that as soon as you start on this path and really start to observe yourself, you can just bring yourself compassion when you feel that way and understand why. And when we shine understanding on areas where maybe we were blinded or we felt shame or we felt pressure, that's what helps the pendulum to stop swinging so much. And it's like when you're in that space where you're feeling frozen and doing nothing, it's loving yourself and talking to yourself the way that I just did. And when you're in that space of catching yourself, oh, I'm in fight or flight right now, I'm trying to be perfect right now, you can maybe say, okay, well, let me just pull back for a second and ask myself why I'm doing this. Am I taking this action out of fear? Or am I taking it out of love and passion? And if the answer is not love and passion and joy, of course you can help to create safety with yourself by giving yourself the option, is this really essential for us to complete right now? Is this necessary? Or can we pull back and just take 15 minutes of rest and then go back to it? That's all that this process really requires of you to do, is to really start to become aware when you're in those places that you don't want to be living in, and bring yourself into that safe space within yourself by acknowledging it, not being shameful or judgmental of yourself when you're in either place, and then really reconnecting to what you're meant to be doing and what feels right for you in that moment. Which brings me to the third phase of this process, which is when the healing begins. The healing does not begin when you finally break through and use your willpower to do everything perfectly and be that version of yourself that you think you need to be. Although your mind will tell you that that's where your healing lies, that's where your freedom lies. The healing begins when you take away all of that and just simply be with yourself in that space of observation, in that space of slowing down. But not just observing and slowing down. The healing begins when you start to actively switch the dialogue actively switch the way that you view yourself and you feel about yourself in those moments. The healing begins when you are a potato on your couch and you're eating snacks and you don't feel like you've done anything productive that day. Maybe you haven't showered, you're still in the clothes that you slept in. The healing begins when you hold yourself in that space and you tell yourself, I love you and I'm proud of you. And we are doing the very best that we can because you are. The truth is that you have a very, very good reason for being exactly who you are and where you are in your life. Even your coping mechanisms, even the part of you that wants to numb out, watch TV, whatever it is that you do to feel safe within yourself, there is a part of you that learned that coping mechanism in order to create this safety that you're now going to be creating from this stable foundation. Eventually, you won't need those coping mechanisms anymore when you do this work. But we don't get there by shaming ourselves and judging ourselves when we are in the midst of those phases. We get there by feeling connected to the part of ourselves who understands exactly why we're doing what we're doing and who can see us through the eyes of compassion and love. And something that really helped me to do that was kind of diving into when certain habits started, when I first started to feel disconnected from myself, and really looking at my childhood. And even if you can't remember your childhood, there are likely patterns in your adult life that resemble things that happened in your childhood. So just noticing moments when you felt disconnected from yourself in your life and validating, it's understandable that I need to end every night with watching TV or numbing out or doing this thing because it is the part of me that is seeking connection and joy. And understanding that had you not gone through experiences that pulled you away from yourself, that made you feel disconnected or abandoning yourself or feeling like something was wrong with you, you wouldn't overly use these coping mechanisms in the way that maybe you do right now. Maybe you zone out on your phone or you eat snacks or whatever it is that brings you comfort. What I'm trying to explain is that the healing starts when you can recognize that all of those actions you take come from an inner child part of you who is simply trying to get their need met. And it's this balancing act of giving your inner child what they need and also telling that part of you, I love you and you deserve this comfort. And it's okay right now. It's okay that we need this. This isn't going to be forever. It's a balance of doing that while also holding in your heart what you would like to do, the action that you would like to take that would make you feel better. And knowing that this process does take time. It takes time to create this safety, and it's okay if you go back into those coping mechanisms over and over and over again, because that is where the healing lies, is being able to see yourself through different eyes, through the lens of compassion, and bring yourself love and connection to you in those moments instead of shaming yourself, disconnecting from yourself further, because all that is doing is deepening that disconnection, deepening that feeling, that lack within you. That part of you that just wanted love and connection is needing you to meet them where they are. And I know that can be really hard because sometimes it can feel like we are enabling ourselves and things that aren't good for us. But in my experience, and I have experienced freedom from several of the habits that were really, really weighing on me, that freedom only came through deep, unconditional self-love. Because what is conditional love, right? Conditional love is that pressure again. I have to meet all of these expectations and be perfect in order to get this thing that is a core need. We all need love. This is something that when we're children, when we're babies, we need it to survive and to feel safe in the world. It's our natural state of being, and when we feel cut off from it, everything feels wrong. Conditional love is based off of you being perfect. Unconditional love is knowing that when you are imperfect, that you will still have access to that very core need that you have. It won't be taken away from you. And that takes the pressure off, and it frees you up to ask yourself, what is the choice that I want to make now? Who is it that I want to be? What action would I take if I knew that I would be loved and safe no matter what, because I'm no longer dependent on anyone outside of me to love me? I'm learning how to give that to myself. It opens you up to be able to break out of whatever funk you've been in, not because you're judging or shaming yourself or abandoning that part of yourself and using willpower to break out, but because for the first time, you're experiencing the safety, you're experiencing the connection, you're experiencing the love within yourself to make a choice that is in alignment with self-love, that is in alignment with connection to yourself, that is in alignment with self-trust. And this is the work, you guys. This is where, when we have just even a little bit more safety and connection to ourselves, that we can start to listen to where we're being guided. We can start to listen to that inner voice again when it is telling us, now's the time to rest, sleep, enjoy yourself, watch a movie, read a book, be with yourself. And now is the time to go make that video. Now is the time to go on a walk, go to that coffee shop, send that email, create that project. And so you take the action and you trust that it might come in a way that you could never predict, but you're no longer needing your mind to be able to predict every single step, because you're starting to trust yourself again. And you're starting to trust that you are being guided on the path that is leading you to everything that you had wanted before. And this is where, when you're in this space, you can start to use those other manifestation tools of writing down and visualizing and actually getting excited about what you want. The way to get excited about those things coming is not by knowing logically every single step it's going to take to get there. That puts so much pressure on it, and it makes you feel like you have to control everything, and that when things don't go your way, you can't surrender and have faith. When you trust yourself and you do those manifestation practices, you allow yourself to be pleasantly surprised and shown the miraculous ways that all of these manifestations can pour in. And trust me when I say, you probably cannot predict. You likely cannot predict how all of these things are going to work out for you. So hold on to that vision. Don't give up on it, but also surrender to this part of you that knows exactly where you're going and exactly the timing that you would like these things to happen, and so much more. And I feel called to say, if you find yourself in that place of just transitioning from taking so much action, going from that pendulum of like perfectionist, fight or flight mode to frozen, numbing out, going to those coping mechanisms, if you're just starting to slow that down and come back into rest and stillness and listening to yourself and practicing self-love, the most important thing that I can remind you to have is patience. And remembering that if this video is resonating with you on that deeper level, that is likely the path that is going to help everything fall into place in your life. And sometimes that moment where you stop going into those old mechanisms and those old patterns, it will feel like everything is crumbling. People call it the dark night of the soul, the void, the space of the unknown, where you are letting go of everything that was filling up your life before. You are making room to be able to attract and receive. You're making room to learn how to trust yourself again. You're making room to learn how to be present. And that space can be quite uncomfortable. So if you're there right now, hi, I'm here with you. It can suck sometimes, but also the more you practice being kind to yourself and creating that safety, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to be in the space where you have no idea what's going to happen, how things will unfold, because that's truly the space where anything can happen. And it's cool to be in a place where you've successfully let go of all of your attachments so that you have that energetic space to receive again. The fourth phase or explanation that I want to share is like in depth of how and the tools that can support us on this journey. So for that first phase where you're really recognizing that your relationship with yourself is your priority, it's really supportive to have something that you read or listen to every morning that reminds you of that and reminds you why. I always think of it like the movie 50 First Dates, where she has memory loss and she wakes up every morning to remember who she is. Creating some type of video and reminder that this is the work that you're doing, or working with a mentor. That I meet with my mentor once a week to remind me the path that I'm on, remind me to trust myself, whatever it is that can bring you back into this place that you're likely in right now from watching this video. Maybe it's watching this video once a week to remind you. Whatever it is, just have that reminder, because it is so easy to fall back into old conditioning. And just having that part for your logical mind can be really, really supportive in guiding the action that you take that day. For the second phase with the observation and just becoming aware of the attachments that you have, who you think you need to be, the way that you're speaking to yourself, the way that you're judging yourself, I highly recommend journaling. I personally sometimes felt like journaling was a little bit of a chore just because I spent so much time writing when I was in school. I do love writing every now and then, but for me, I channel my thoughts best when I record a voice memo. So I'll record voice memos to myself. Sometimes I'll type instead of writing because it makes my hand hurt. I write really fast. But just getting it out there, out of your mind, onto your phone, on a voice notes app, or onto paper is super supportive for becoming that observer. For slowing down, this is the part where sometimes we need the most tools, because when we start to slow down, it feels really unsafe and our bodies start to go kind of crazy and it just feels like the most painful process. The first thing that I suggest is to remind yourself there is no way to do it wrong. There's no way to mess up learning how to be with yourself. And it's easy to think that because when we learn about meditation, we're told we have to completely silence our minds. And that has never been an effective approach for me. I just get frustrated with myself and I'm like, I'm not doing this right. So the most important thing you can do is tell yourself there's no way for me to mess this up. And then to bring in practices that support you in making yourself feel more relaxed. For me, that is dance, somatic shaking. So when I woke up in the morning every day feeling so anxious and just wanting to immediately take action, chug my coffee, get on with it, I would shake that out of me. And just that practice in itself is so powerful. And I would shake and then I would drop to my yoga mat or my bed and just breathe, go into meditation. Sometimes pairing that shaking with breath work can be really supportive. Learning different styles of breath work and the ones that work for you. I really love the channel Breathe with Sandy. I'll link it in the description box below, but he has like all different styles of breath work that can be really supportive. And then lastly, when it comes to really learning how to rewrite the narrative and reprogram the mind, I, of course, am a huge fan of hypnosis, because this is the space where we can get back into the state of mind that we were in from ages 0 to 7, when our brain was highly susceptible to all suggestions in our environment. The process of hypnotherapy guides you into that really deeply relaxed state where you can reprogram your mind with suggestions that are supportive to you in this process of feeling wholeness and safety within yourself again. And for me, I always struggled to enter into the state of hypnosis. So what I do is I'll do shaking, breath work, and then go into my hypnotherapy session where I'm guided on a journey to connect with my higher self, to bring that love to those child parts of me that are taking action out of fear and that believe I need to be somebody else in order to receive love and abundance in my life. I comfort that part of me within the hypnosis, and then I reprogram my mind with new positive suggestions that align with the version of me who feels completely safe within myself, the version of me who truly loves me, who trusts me, and is connected to my inner guidance. So in alignment with this video that I just made, I decided to make a pre-recorded hypnotherapy session to sell on my website. Of course, you do not need to use this hypnotherapy session to receive this type of healing, but I was called to create it for those of you who are wanting a little bit more support. The hypnotherapy session will include somatic shaking, breath work, and then you'll be guided into that deep hypnosis. There'll be a couple of different options to listen, versions where it has all three of those things, and then versions where those different practices are all separated so that you can use them at whatever time you're called. So if you feel really aligned with the process that I just shared, inspired with everything that I shared in this video, I highly recommend purchasing it. It's a great way to support me and my channel and my small business while also giving yourself a container to begin this healing work and to just have tools to use when you feel like you're falling off track or you don't really know where to go with this self-love journey. Thank you so much for listening and for supporting my channel. And remember that if you believe somewhere deep down that you are meant to be a powerful manifester, and there just are some things blocking you from getting there, that your soul really did want you to learn how to create this stable foundation, how to come back to that feeling of deep security and self-love within you, and you are fully capable of doing that. And I'm right there with you on this journey, and I love you so much.